Good morning, good morning. What's up, folks? How is everybody this morning? Happy Thursday. Let me get my screen sharing going here. All right, it is Thursday, December 7th, as we head into the end of 2023 and right up to Christmas. Hope everybody's ready for old Santa to either drop some presents in their accounts or drop some presents under the tree. Although I've seen some discussions to this effect, and I think we've even talked about it previously. Did Santa come earlier this year? Have we already seen the quote unquote Santa rally? That's a good question. We'll talk about that a little bit today. Let me just make sure I've got everything set up here the way I want it to be, so we can cruise right on through once we get started. Interesting fake out on IWM there. I was not watching that one. Let's keep an eye on this too. I actually hit my target here pre-market for this sphere trade. If you're not familiar with sphere, this is the Las Vegas sphere, which is kind of cool because my last trip out there, our hotel room was overlooking it, and I had no idea what it was. It was like, is that going to be like Thunderdome or something? I'm going to make this some next level Mad Max style Vegas, but as time went on, it's become very clear that it's a big half of a orb screen, which is pretty cool. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. We'll start off talking about futures here. We'll give folks just a couple more seconds. Let me also, again, just kind of double checking everything, making sure I've got everything where I need it to be so we can make this as productive and beneficial a morning live stream as we possibly can, and I do think we're pretty good to go. All right, let's take a look at. Just want to take a look at this hourly chart real quick, which is kind of what I was expecting to see, heading toward a back test of this channel. So, what are we kind of looking at on futures? What should we be thinking about as we head into the end of the year and sort of the overall, I guess I don't want to say bias because it's the wrong word. Probably the slight lean that we'll want to have. Typically, or what I should say is, while we were riding this channel to the upside and SPY slash ES, the S&P was continuing to make higher lows for the most part and also higher highs. I think it made a ton of sense to continue to, essentially buy the dip. We are now seeing a loss of that channel trend support. We're also seeing some rejections off of this weekly trend line that I'll zoom out just so you guys can see where your touches are. And this is more of a hypothetical at this point, but the way things are looking, I think it's going to essentially be validated on this candle right here, because we only have the two touches so far, but I'm looking at a new potential weekly trend here, going from this high back in July of this year to the high last week, and that potentially being, something that we're going to struggle to deal with. We've also talked about on multiple occasions kind of some key levels here on this chart, those being 4609. That's really the key level that we need to break to continue to push things higher. We also have been talking about 4565. That's kind of a pretty key ideal support level if we are going to eventually break 4609 and move to the upside. But I've also mentioned being able to hold this 4547 level. I think, again, that there's still kind of some bearish potential here as long as we're holding that 4547 level. And we are. We've also created on the daily chart a demand zone here as of a few days ago. So, we've got some things working in our favor, but there's also signs of some slippage that we might be losing some momentum. Also kind of looking like head and shoulders pattern might be playing out. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline, probably a little bit shallower and a little bit higher than that channel line, but has definitely broken below. So what we might be seeing here, at least what it looks like to me, is a back test, and as close of a back test as we may get might have already played out as far as where this wick is hitting and starting to push back down. But this 45, 65 back test of this ascending trend line on the lower part of that channel, that looks like it could be a really great opportunity to build up some longer term put positions, or at the very least get some hedges in place on your longer term portfolios, just to kind of have that safety net there. Because again, things are starting to, the momentum is eroding. And certainly if we break below 45, 47, I think, we probably challenge this next demand zone. And honestly, I don't know if it really holds. I think the next key level that I'd be looking at under that 45, 47 is, again, this 45.05 level. And then below that, downside really opens up. We could just, essentially eclipse this huge buy imbalance that was created, and take us all the way down to 44.36. So again, things are starting to look like there's potential short-term top in place, and we may need to see a bigger pullback before we can push higher. So keep that in mind. We may be flipping to more of a short the rip versus buy the dip type environment. And so again, I think that should influence how you're looking at individual tickers, as well as how you might play some of these bigger picture ETF or futures tickers. So I'm going to go through a few. That's kind of just my take or a quick update on, I think, where we're sitting at from a market perspective and overall direction and what we should be aware of and keeping in mind. I'm going to go through a few trade plan recaps, especially the ones that we talked about on Tuesday. But if you guys have any other tickers you want me to take a look at, let me know. All or Nothing asking about Tesla. We already have that queued up, and we're sort of in the process of an existing plan, but I was going to update it anyway, so we'll talk about that for sure. But if you guys have any other ticker requests or any questions you'd like to ask that I could potentially help with, they don't have to be questions about a specific stock. You might have questions about how to handle stops, how to scale out of trades, whatever the case might be. Feel free to drop anything like that along with your ticker requests in the chat area of this live stream. The chat area, if you don't have it open, if you're looking at a screen with a bunch of avatar tiles, a little word bubble icon, top right hand corner of your screen, make sure you open that. That is where you can interact with me, and it's also where I'll post charts that will give you recaps of the trade plans that we're putting together as we discuss them. So with that, I think you guys have all the details you need. Let's start digging into some of these trade plans. So this is one that I alerted yesterday. It was interesting to me. It showed up on a scanner for a golden cross, which is generally a bullish signal. Did have some bad news. I think there's some kind of a debt servicing issue or something like that dropped it pretty hard the day before yesterday, but it was clear that there was a downtrend forming, and so I saw this pop up on my golden cross scanner, saw this trend line forming, so then I was like, okay, we just need to break over that trend line. But then I started looking at the options chain. It's still a fairly new ticker as far as it like having much attention or volume on it. It's the options spread and volume on options is the spread's fairly wide and the volumes was pretty low. So I wasn't as eager to jump in, and it was also why I was very hesitant to actually post it as an alert, because as good as my analysis was on this and how well I thought the technicals might play out, low volume, still I would say relatively young ticker and young business. You sort of just don't know, especially with that recent catalyst that took place the day prior. That was a negative catalyst. So, all that kind of made me wait a little bit more and didn't take it directly on the back test of this trend line. But once we cleared over sort of that local resistance after we got that back test, that's when I was willing to take a shot at it. And went pretty short term because the bid-ask spread got even worse the further out you went on your expirations, believe it or not. I don't like wrestling with insanely wide bid-ask spreads, especially on something that trades in the below triple digit range, and something that again is potentially low volume. But we had 31 calls for tomorrow's expiration, scaled some out at 50%. yesterday. We are now over $1 plus in the money, so this is continuing to play out. Should be a nice return at open. I will certainly be closing my remaining contracts at open as we get ready to come up and test this 333 SMA. But my target was sort of this recent low here around 32.27. I said 32 plus yesterday. We are there. So if you are in this trade with me, if you caught my mention of it in the chat, again, I did not alert this. I just put it in the options chat, but did my best to bring attention to it. So if you're still riding contracts with me on this, make sure that you're booking those at open. Could it go higher? Absolutely, but I'm good with the profits that we're going to take out of this, considering it was a fairly risky trade. Oracle was one of our requests from Tuesday. This one is continuing to play out to the downside. You got this confluence of SMAs all pushing down to the bear side, along with Neptune all pushing down with sell pressure there. We are catching some support here as of after hours yesterday. They're at that 1186 level. My first target was a little bit lower, but I would certainly say at this point wouldn't be the worst idea to go ahead and maybe book some profits at open if you didn't take any going into the close yesterday, assuming you're in on this Oracle plan once we broke below 113.27. There is a nice potential confluence building up here overhead. So if you want to kind of have more of a technical based stop, a cross back above or a break back above 112.56 and reclaiming that as support would probably be my signal to get out of the trade entirely. But again, wouldn't be the worst idea to go ahead and scale some profits out at open. Sorry. I may have been slightly aggressive on my first price target. I mean, it's a pretty clean bounce off that 111.86 level, but again, things could still continue to play out to the downside. All right. So anyway, Oracle plan underway, playing out to the downside. Keep 111.86 on watch. That needs to break down for us to get to that first price target. And again, I like this confluence that we have overhead. If we clear back above that, I would certainly consider closing out any open positions you may still have on this Oracle trade plan idea. So keep your eyes on it. Things are going well there. IWM, I noticed this when I pulled this up this morning, a little bit of a really strong fake out here to the upside. Came a little short of that 188.01, and I was really expecting a test of the entry into this gap overhead to be sort of a key magnet for the price action, and we just didn't get there. So maybe, again, I was a little bit too aggressive in this price target. But again, if you stuck with the plan and then caught it to the downside, dump straight down to that weekly support and hit it there at the end of the day. So hopefully that would have been a quick enough and solid enough move to recoup any hit you might have taken on that fake out to the upside. It was certainly convincing. And again, those things happen. That's why nobody's 100% on their trade execution. But PT1, and now we are looking to potentially get more, especially if this bearish flag stays in place here on Neptune on the 5-minute. Price action's trying to flip it here. But again, as long as this candle closes back below the perimeter of that flag, that will remain in place, and I'd say selling pressure stays on. We can also sometimes with this particular indicator get slight, very barely overhead breaks, which to me doesn't necessarily constitute a change in the direction. So sometimes I like to throw 6-minute on and just take a look at it. So yeah, again, kind of still right in the heart of that pressure. So it needs a little bit more before I think IWM really kind of clears the way to continue to try to recover here pre-market. But again, based on what we're seeing on ES, not surprised that we're seeing downside kind of be the more favorable trajectory, at least for now. Yeah, absolutely, Chris. See, I mean, everything can be lined up exactly the way you want it, and you take the entry. But that's why another reason why, stop loss is a validation, but also another reason why you keep your position sizes consistent as far as your max position size. You don't ever go over your rules for max position size just because it looks like the perfect trade setup. Because to your point, it might not play out. That setup can still fail, you can. The other thing I'd say is if it's a risky setup that getting into it, adjust your position size but make it smaller, right? But if you have a cap, if it's generally speaking like 5%, 10% of your account value depending on what your risk tolerance is going into a trade. Make sure that you don't ever go over that just because it seems like it's a particularly fantastic setup. Always stick to your rules for max position size, but feel free to decrease or make your start off with smaller position sizing if it's not an ideal setup. So again, flip into this 6 minute just to kind of get a quick sanity check, rejecting right at that spot that we would expect it to reject, also near this sort of wick on this what seems to be the pre-market high. So again, keep an eye on IWM, but so far it looks like it should continue to the downside and probably give us some more price targets there to hopefully make up for that fake out that happened to the upside. All right, so Tesla, this one you could have traded this so many different ways using the levels from the plan I posted on Sunday. Let me drag these over just so it's a little bit more clear. Actually, I'm going to switch this to our recap chart because I know I've got a lot of info on my Tesla chart and that can make it a bit hard to follow, a little bit noisy. So a couple things I'm watching here on Tesla. First of all, PT2 from the trade plan I posted on Sunday has been high of the day 2 days in a row. I think within maybe 10 or 20 cents. So pretty laser accurate with that price target there. Also really liking what I've seen with our call entry level. Here we see a break above, back test, pushed right up to PT2 and then a clean rejection from there. Same thing here. We started off pre-market over the call entry. We caught just below PT2 on this trend line, back tested this confluence down here at the call entry, boom, straight up to PT2 again. Tried to bounce on that on a slightly different confluence, but now things are breaking down, and instead of bouncing on the 100 SMA, we're now rejecting it. So Tesla kind of looking like it could be losing some momentum, as well as the rest of the market. And again, overall, this trend line is one to certainly keep on watch. This is a daily trend line, and I'm sorry, on Tesla, it's a 24-hour chart. Daily trend line that goes back quite a ways. Until that breaks, I would not be mega bullish. Let's buy Tesla leaps. And you'll notice that, again, we still have kind of a pretty good confluence, very, very near our PT2. So, again, double top there under this trend line. That is all kind of problematic for Tesla at the moment. So keep that stuff on watch. But again, you've caught multiple opportunities to play this from the call entry up to PT2. So congrats if you've done that. Since we put this plan out on Sunday. We've also even seen it play out to the downside for some, well, no, I'm sorry, that was all pre-market. That was during a trading day, so not really all that useful, actually. So anyway, that's where Tesla's at, and again, here we are kind of back in the same spot. Nothing has changed, so to all or nothing's question, maybe Tesla, I say continue to use these levels, continue to use the same plan that I published on Sunday in the options watch list. It has been working like clockwork. And the levels have played out extremely nicely, extremely well. I should say extremely nicely sounds awful. So again, keep this existing plan on watch and just wash, rinse, repeat. Stick to your plan. Wait for those confluences to set up. Wait for back tests, all that sort of stuff. All the things I talk about all the time on this live stream. Just stick to those habits. Use these levels in this technical analysis, and you should be good to go. Any recommendations? What setup we use for 0-day credit spread for NDX and SPX? I guess I'm not 100% sure I'm following your question there, Day Trade. Like what strikes would I be looking at? Like which one would I sell and which one would I long? Well, it's a little bit hard to tell at this point. Generally speaking, when I do sell credit spreads or iron condors on SPX or NDX, I personally like to give things about 15 minutes and see if I can't perhaps sell puts at what looks like sort of there's profit taking, or we dumped right off the open to a key support level. Let me go ahead and use that opportunity to get a kind of a better fill on something like a put credit spread. I'll Also not really, you know, with those only trading regular trading hours, I'm not really sure where we would expect them to open exactly. I'm sure there's an easy conversion, but I don't trade SPX or NDX all that much. I'm more of a either futures or SPY QQQ person. It's just kind of always been my thing. Um, and if you find something that works extremely well for you, why change it, right? But there is one thing, and I don't know if you're looking at this at all. So let's see if I can't kind of rough guesstimate where we might be. But I don't know if you've used this at all or thought about using this at all. In fact, I'll go ahead and share this. This is not my work. In fact, I think the author's name is all over it. But it was one of the things that I found back when I really got interested in selling credit spreads and doing iron condors on SPX specifically. So let me see if I can't find this thing again. There's a couple actually. This one's by Tammy Chambliss. And one of the things that she talks about, and there's another one that I'll also post in here. This is interesting if you look into this stuff. But the other thing that she uses, and a lot, I've seen a lot of people using this with regards to kind of how they sort of gauge what side of the day they want to start off their credit spreads with, and whether or not they're ever going to kind of flip that or convert that into an iron condor. But using ADD, which is a market internal indicator, if you're not familiar with it, look into it and read that PDF that I put in the chat on it. That can certainly be helpful. At least last time I looked into it was doing these types of credit spreads. It was very helpful. That was quite some time ago in a very different market than we have today, but I would imagine it still holds true, since that's, again, kind of a solid internal indicator that I don't think, you know, there's not a lot of manipulation that can really happen with it, essentially. And most people don't know about it or don't look at it, especially retail. So what would be the benefit of manipulating it, even if you could, right? So anyway, check those out. Hopefully that's helpful. But yeah, I mean, like, for me to kind of guess what strikes I'd be selling pre-market before the market's even open, that just wouldn't be my approach generally. To be honest, I'd kind of watch that first 15 to 30 minutes, try to catch your either put credit spread sell at support on a morning profit taking or dump, and then try to sell your call credit spread on some kind of a overextended launch to the upside that hits a key resistance. When you're hitting that resistance, sell your call credit spread, and then wait for a pullback until you see the right opportunity to flip it to an iron condor, or just leave it as it is and take the money on your call credit spread. So anyway, I hope that helps, man. Even though I wasn't able to give you specific strikes that I would long and short at least not at this point. So let's see. We talked about Tesla, Confused. So let's give me some ticker requests, folks, or Chris. Chris always finds the banger mid cap tickers that we wind up getting great trade plans out of. But IoT, yeah, God, yeah, that one was a beast. How's that doing? I haven't checked back on that in a minute, but we'll take a look at Delta for Confused Soul. Yeah, God, this is probably way. Playbook, that's the right layout. Where are my levels? Oh gosh, we're way over my levels. That's why. Yeah, I mean, all price targets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 price targets, and then some, and still going. So yeah, nice move there. All right, so Axon and BKNG and Delta. All right, so and I think Confused Soul is long-term outlook for Delta. So let's take a look at. Let's start with that. That was the first request we got. Let me also get my coffee slurps in. All right. So Delta. Let's see. Delta's not one that I don't. I guess I take that back. I guess I have done. It's not one I look at often, for sure. Definitely some old stuff on here. So let me just take a quick moment to clean this up. Otherwise, I'm going to struggle to make heads or tails of what I'm even looking at. clearly, I think all these gaps have probably filled. But I'm not even sure what time frames they would be, so because I must have done this pretty quickly. I don't know when or why. I'm just going to delete these for now until I know what I want to do with those spots, and we'll probably add them back as levels based on time frames. So delta, what are we looking at here? Long term, well, this is a little bit interesting to me. I don't know if this is going to pan out or not, but yeah, not really. I mean, there was a downtrend there. We've clearly broken out over it. I was wondering if maybe this might be a back test of that downtrend, and we might be bouncing off that. That would be a really, I think, good sign to go long on it. But that's not the case. So I think this trend line is invalidated, and it hasn't really been used again on the move back down, so I don't think we even want to watch it anymore. Yeah, I don't even really remember when I last looked at delta or drew these levels. So let's see. I just want to take a look at this real quick, make sure I'm not. That when I did these, I was thoughtful, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's definitely weekly levels sitting right here that I don't have. This might have been one of those gap levels I just erased. All right. So, I mean, it's riding this trend to the upside. Let's see if we can't see it better. A 24-hour chart may be the better one. Might even go with 4-hour, actually. There's definitely I won't say definitely, but it certainly appears as though there's a trend. Looks like it's based off this candle right here. Come here. Could be this candle. Let's see if that cleans it up at all. Yeah, not really. Kind of the same look. We did get a little bit of a fake out, maybe a little bit of a bear trap below on these couple of candles, but overall, several clean bounces off that trend line. So definitely one that I would keep on watch. Let's switch this up real quick. So, I mean, as long as it holds this trend line, and I would say 37.16 long term looks good for continuation. But let's go ahead and put together a full on trade plan for it. And to do that, again, I'm going to need to really dial in the rest of my support resistance levels that I may not have on here yet. This is an interesting cluster of resistance, but I'm not seeing any, at least recent support. It's definitely got a lot of resistance. I just would really love to see. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I think we've got 4-hour level here. There might actually even be, let me look at one thing real quick, figure out if I want to use the 24-hour or the daily chart. Yeah, let's go with the 24-hour. Could also be that level I just drew is a daily level, actually. Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah, okay. I'm happy with that being the daily level. All right, let's get back to current here. Another interesting little potential spot where buyers and sellers are coming in. Yeah. I think we want to keep that on watch as well. All right, so let's break this down. Let's look at some smaller time frames. I think what we're probably gonna wait or look for is a break over this 39.81 level. You can sort of tell that already. It's also a weekly level, which is pretty key in my opinion. I think that gives us a shot up to 40.84. The question is, where do we set our stop? It might be right around here, 39.18. Let's see though. A couple recent candles certainly is not enough to establish a level or trade plan off of by any stretch. Might actually be a little bit lower. Could be more like right here. I mean, we could use this daily level. The thing that I just don't love about it. Let's check this real quick. I mean, I don't want to make this a tight trade plan. Certainly one that I would buy time on. Again, airlines, I would say I'm overall bullish on. Bigger picture, I mean, travels. I mean, unless another pandemic hits, I'm bullish on them. But I mean, travel has picked up tremendously. Um, as we've kind of regained some sense of post-COVID normalcy. And honestly, this first price target actually might be a little bit higher too. Now, I wonder if that weekly level is actually a little bit higher. Let me just check this real quick. Yeah, I think it is actually. I think it sits right there. Make sure I'm actually happy with that though. All right, yeah, let's check this. Going back here. Now this rejection here is the only thing that kind of weirds me out about shooting for that higher target. That is all pre-market. Just take another look at this real quick. Just want to make sure we're not kind of setting ourselves up for issues. Look at these indicators real quick. It's not helping at the moment. Yeah, it kind of just opens and dumps straight down. There's also a gap to fill there at that point. Definitely a smaller time frame level around here though. All right. Sorry, I'm probably belaboring this a little too much, but again, I hate to do an inadequate trade plan. All right. Yeah, we've definitely got a switch happening right around in here that I think could open up more downside. I think it offers for a ticker like Delta sufficient room for the trade to play out. I think this is our stop loss right here. I've kind of been eyeballing this level over and over again. I think I'm going to stick with that. The only other question for me is, do we set maybe a price target here at 40.63. Let PT2 be 41.02. Those just kind of tight targets, but again, on a ticker like Delta, that's actually a pretty decent move for continuation. I think we can pop over this 38.981 level. I think, again, if I'm sort of debating it this strongly, I'd say let's be safe. Let's set that as a price target. Third price target for the upside. Yeah, I'm really eyeballing somewhere right about in here. Yeah. Smaller time frame level, but again, I think a smart level. But there is a nice, I think, profit window that opens up there that gets us a good start on the trade over 39.81. So I do like that. To the downside, interesting bounce here pre-market off this level. A little bit over this resistance from Monday. So helps. Let me fix this. So this is what our trade plan to the upside looks like. Let me also just check. Yeah, that all tracks. All right, to the downside, I think we at least need to get this trend line out of the way before I'd be really kind of shooting for a downside move on Delta. So really launched off this daily level here at 37.16. I know it's a ways away, but I don't think that there's a ton of room for a bearish play until we get below that. So a little bit of a waiting game for the downside, but is what it is. However, I do think that there's a weird little flip of support though right here. Yeah, I think that, but yeah, we'll be breaking down that trend line. I think that that's going to potentially accelerate a move to the downside. This support or resistance flip to support, though, is definitely interesting to me. I think we kind of wind up with another scenario similar to our upside plan, where we kind of have a tight PT1 and 2. I think we've got 36.21 and then 35.71 first and second price targets. Below that gets interesting again. I think, yeah, I have my eye on this level right here where we sort of, yeah, I couldn't see it just based on these candles alone, but to me it looked like we broke something and then back tested it right here. I got a little bit more confirmation with some of these resistance and support tests back there. So I think this is our third price target to the downside, just to be safe. Which gives us a stop loss. Final question on this one. Yeah. This sticks out to me big time. Right here. Let me fix this so I can track when we actually put this plan together. All right, so here's our Delta trade plans. So what we're looking for here on Delta is a break to the upside to play the upside for is a break of 39.81 resistance. That should give us targets at 40.63, 41.02. So again, tight PT1 and 2, but is what it is. That's what the chart is telling me. Third price target 41.57. Stop loss average down at 39.25. Kind of pre-market resistance it looks like at the moment. To the downside, again, a little bit of a waiting game here before I think real downside opportunity opens up. And so we'd be looking for real good confirmation to break below 37.16. I could feasibly see an entry below 37.74 if you take that as the entry, just maybe start small and then average up, scale in if we do continue down and get a break below 37.16 as well. Totally up to you. But potential earlier entry there at 37.74, that kind of coincides with a break of that trend line if and when that happens anytime in the near future. But ultimately, again, break below 37.16 is what we're looking for, with targets at 36.21, 35.71. Again, kind of similar scenario, tight PT 1 and 2, and then a little bit more room to the downside to 34.91 below 35.71, and a stop loss average down at that 37.74 level I was talking about a moment ago. So that is your Delta trade plan. Go forth, execute. As long as you execute, the technicals hopefully will work out. All right, what was the next one? Let's see, we had Delta Axon. This is the body camera company. Definitely an interesting one, and has, continued to grind to the upside. In fact, I had a mentee that I was working with back in the day, who focused almost like Axon was one of the main tickers they were trading. It's certainly an interesting one to watch for sure. Not one that I have clearly charted very well, although I'll bet if we went to the mentoring, yeah, save and reload is fine. If we go to my mentoring layout, I'll bet you there's some levels on Axon. Oh my gosh, it's already 9:11. No, maybe I deleted them. Okay. Well, no, that's playbook still. That's why. Let's go to mentoring. Well, I guess one level we were watching. Okay, anyway, let's go back to this other layout, my main layout. All right, so can I do a rapid fire trade plan here is the big question. The other question I have before I start digging into this, what's the volume like? Oh gosh. I'm not going to chart this one for options. And honestly, we are kind of running out of time. So maybe there's another one in here that I've already got levels on that I can do quickly. And sorry about this, Harry. I don't mean to kind of cast you aside. My issue with planning this out is our 30-day average volume. I mean, if we're not in the millions, this thing could really struggle to make moves. So that's something to always kind of keep in mind as you're looking at tickers. Yeah, they can be, right? But there's also leaves things open for kind of manipulation, which I don't love. It's a lot easier to manipulate a low volume stock than it is a high volume stock, right? So that's kind of generally why I don't like anything that's trading under like at least a couple million shares on the 30-day average. And honestly, I'd be struggling to put together anything reasonable in the amount of time I have left. So if you want to shoot me a DM, I'll be happy to take a look at it and maybe provide you some input offline. Because I don't want to, I'm not trying to ignore you. I'm just trying to focus on, I think stuff that might be a little bit more actionable from an options perspective, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right, Apple was the one that I know I've got levels on. In fact, we've got a trade plan on it from a couple Tuesdays ago. Hit PT2, so kind of looking like Tesla a little bit. PT2 back to the call entry level. We were bouncing off of that. There is clearly an hourly level right in this neck of the woods that I don't have charted for Apple that we'd want to keep our eyes on. So I think what we could do here, actually, what I'd like to do, so I'd be looking for a break over this 193 level. We can flip this current resistance to our stop loss support level. Keep first price target at this PT2 that's already in place there at 194.71. I think third price target, since we haven't even been over 190, or second price target is going to be our third price target from that existing plan. Yep, 100%. And third price target might be just above it at 196.71, I think. Yeah, I think you'd be a little too brave to. Oh, well, that's also very close to the 52-week high, also, with the exception of this one wick that shot up and got sold off within that same candle, which I don't know how much weight I'd even put into that. This looks like our kind of 52-week key resistance point. So tight PTs 2 and 3 on this one versus PT 1 and 2, but again, I think if you could establish some free runners by the time we get to 196.71, I say go for it because it could wind up being a big breakout. But I would not. I wouldn't be holding anything other than free runners once we tap 196.71. To the downside, I don't think it really opens up until we get below 190.72. I think that gives us this. Let me fix this so this doesn't distract me. Stop loss right here at 190.156. First target. What was our put entry level? I still like that. Yep, as a first target. Well, you know what? I would nudge this up just a hair to this one level I have just above it, 4-hour level up here at 189.75. So I could see that potentially being the point that holds, actually. Below that, interesting bottoming action right through here at a level. Yeah, there's something there. At one point, it looks like there was a gap down at 188.80. I'm not even sure what that level's there for, because there should be a complementary top of the gap. I don't know, maybe I dropped this level on my chart by accident or changed the color by accident. But what I'm looking at is really sitting more like right here. I'm not 100% confident what I was doing with that red line there, so I'm going to borrow it to pick the second price target there. Below that, yeah, I think we've potentially, well, it's an interesting bottom we found there on the 30th. Kind of a pre-market bounce there a couple days ago. Also seen some resistance. Yeah, there could be a level there. That might be the smarter one to pick for a third price target. Yep, I'm going to stick with that. Could go down to 187.78, but 188.36 will suffice. All right. So this is what our Apple trade plans look like. And with this, I've got to hustle to go get the SPY plan together for today. That will be posted in the options watch list of our Discord server here at Xtrades. For those watching on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube and we're following the daily SPY plans on Twitter, my apologies. Apparently, Twitter doesn't like me sharing trade ideas. So my account got flagged and banned and never reinstated, and I don't really care to walk back up that hill again with Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. They said I violated their terms of service. I have no idea why or what terms I violated, but apparently sharing charts directly from TradingView and having links to a Discord server and all that stuff, apparently they have some big heartburn about that. So, I can't fix that. So anyway, if you're watching on YouTube and you were following the daily SPY plans that were getting auto forwarded to Twitter/X, my apologies that you don't have access to those anymore. That's out of my control. But you can always come join us here at Xtrades. They get posted here every morning, and typically they are pretty fire, if I do say so myself. All right, so what are we looking for here? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, but I got that notification one day when I had been weeks since I looked at Twitter, and I went to my profile and it was like, your account's been banned for violation of terms of service, and I appealed it and never heard anything back on the appeal. So whatever. Screw Twitter. I wasn't really actively using it anyway. It was maybe that was the issue. Is they realized everything was just a bot forwarding stuff from our Discord server, and I wasn't actually a Twitter user and engaging and helping them in any real way. So it is what it is. So if you're watching on YouTube and you're not currently an Xtrades member, and we're using Twitter to access the daily SPY plans, they're still going out every day, but you'll have to come join us here at Xtrades if you want to see them, unfortunately. Or fortunately, it's a great place to be, but I just liked being able to sort of share them with a broader audience, so that's the unfortunate part of it. All right, so to our Apple trade plan, and then I need to go work on the SPY plan. What do I think about rum? I'm more of a wine drinker, man. I don't really do liquor all that much. But I don't honestly have time to look at rum either. Otherwise, I would take a look and give you my thoughts. But all right, so Apple, what we're looking for here is a break over 193.88. That gives us targets at 194.71, 196.11, and 196.71 with a stop loss average down at 193.27. I could also conceivably, no, I wouldn't do that because then you're flipping your risk reward the wrong way. Leave that at 193.27. It either works or it doesn't. To the downside, and also like where our confluences are at, both here with the 200 SMA put entry. So I like that our put entry constitutes a break of that. I also like that we've got PT1, a key bounce point from a Neptune perspective, right where the strongest buying pressure would come in. So love to see when those confluences match up with my levels. We'll probably also see a confluence develop with a 333 and PT2 there. So again, kind of further validates we picked the right levels, I think, for the downside. So we're looking for a break below 190.72 to play for targets at 189.75, 188.94, and 188.17 with a stop loss average down at 191.56. That is your Apple trade plan. And with that, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. We will be back next Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the Xtrades Discord server as well as on YouTube. So please come back, join us for that. For those in the Discord server, again, I'm going to go get this SPY plan together and try to get it posted for you guys within the next 5 or 6 minutes. So keep your eyes on the options watch list there. And with that being said, I'm going to hit you guys with what we say every time here on the FOMO live stream. Plan your trades and trade your plans. Go out there and get some green. I really appreciate you guys joining me. See you guys next Tuesday in here and see you in the Discord after market open. Guys, have a great day. Good luck.